What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the West Side Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Dakota Esri. Welcome into the show. Today's podcast is going to be a single host, myself. My co-host, Travis, is back on the new work grind, and he is getting that stuff going with his life, so props to him. Today's show is going to be a football-only podcast. Normally, we do football, we do baseball, and all that kind of stuff as well. But with that being said, we got to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. I got some opinions. I got some takeaways. And then I'm going to try and tell you guys how I think Seattle can kind of copy what Philadelphia has done, but it's going to take a little bit of adjustment and some changes as far as the NFL drafting goes in general. If you enjoy the content, the conversation, and the topics I bring to you today, as well as the ones from the past and the upcoming future, please do us a huge favor on our channel. Please leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section below here on YouTube. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Well, for everybody and the millions of people that were watching yesterday, this is not a huge shocker, or now it is. But watching what the Eagles did to the Kansas City Chiefs was a humbling reminder of what football really is. And when I say that, of what football really is, what I'm getting at and the point that I'm trying to make here today is that football is won and it is lost in the trenches. I don't care about wide receiver conversation. I don't care about running back conversation. Yes, Saquon Barkley had a hell of a year, 2,500 all-purpose yards. Props to him. In my opinion, he should have been in top consideration for the NFL MVP with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. The list goes on. But what we saw on Sunday was the definition of a team that just says we are bigger, we are badder, we are stronger. We are going to just out physical you, for a better lack of a term, on both sides, offensively and defensively. When you win with four rushers, like they did with Jalen Carter and Milton Johnson and that crew, right? Those guys, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, they ate, right? Like they annihilated that offensive line of Kansas City, who had played really well all year. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, the list goes on. But when you have monsters, like true game-changing players, like I believe Jalen Carter has already become in this league, it speaks for itself with what they can do and how they can change that game and the overall landscape of what you're looking at. It took about maybe halfway through the first quarter, and I'm like, oh boy, I don't like the look of Patrick Mahomes' face. Like it reminded me of, like, not to be disrespectful to Sam Darnold in any way, but it reminded me of when Sam Darnold played for the Jets. And it was like, like you talk about seeing ghosts. Patrick Mahomes throwing a pick six to Cooper DeJean. And Cooper DeJean, happy birthday, dude, yesterday. That was a hell of a birthday present, getting a pick six on Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That was an awesome moment. They really kind of set the tone from the very beginning. They said, look, if you're going to play with us, you're going to have to be as physical as us. You're going to have to be as mean as we're going to be. And they just couldn't match it. It gave me a huge vibe and flashbacks to when the Seahawks played the Broncos. And to start that game, it was just like, dude, we're going to just punch you right in the mouth. And you're going to have to either punch back or be the punching bag, which for some teams, they struggle with. I'm not necessarily calling Kansas City a finesse team, but they played like one yesterday. They didn't have any fight. They kind of looked like they were, a deer in the headlights, for lack of an expression. But with all that being said, you have to look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did and say they had a recipe that were very confident. Like when they stepped on the field, to be honest with you, to start that game, some people are going to say that, dude, this doesn't make any sense. But this is just my gut initial takeaways, right? The Eagles had like a different vibe to them than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs were like, oh, we just don't want to screw it up or make a bad play. And the Eagles were like, we're going to come out here and play the style of football we have played since week 15. They struggled for most of that year. Yeah, the defense played fairly well, but the offense kind of was hit and miss. Some weeks it was just a rushing attack. Some week it was a passing attack. But when they came out and when they played the style that they've done, it made a very loud message to the Chiefs that Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, Andy Reid, they just didn't have any answers. Nothing. No answers on the defensive side of the ball for anything. No answers on the offensive side of the ball. DeAndre Hopkins with a couple drops in the game. Travis Kelce, I think, was too busy on focus on Taylor Swift than he was on the football game. That's my own opinion. But I will say, though, that for full-blown transparency, I was expecting Travis Kelce to throw a fit. He didn't do it, so I give him props. He was a good sport about it, and the Eagles are champions of the NFL world. They shocked the world. There are a lot of people. I was sitting in a casino, listening to the people about sports betting, and I was just like, how do people do this, man? But when I look at the excitement it brings people, I can kind of understand. I myself will never do it because I think it taints my ability to look at the game the way I want to be able to, and just that 30,000 foot perspective that I kind of hold myself to between it's baseball or football. And it was a interesting experience to kind of live and rock with those people and ride the emotions and the roller coasters and all that stuff. But the Eagles are champions. Jalen Hurts was celebrating in Disneyland today. That was cool. And I just have a lot of respect for Jalen Hurts. He's dealt with a lot of crap. A lot of people have questioned him. A lot of people have wondered whether or not he was able to be the player that they wanted him to be. You know, a lot of people question his throwing ability, question his leadership, question, was he just a running quarterback? And some people are going to disagree with me on this, but this is my bold take, probably one of the boldest takes I'll have on the show today. Jalen Hurts is a better player today than Cam Newton ever was. And yeah, Cam Newton won an MVP. To be honest, I don't give a damn. I don't. MVPs are for like Aaron Rodgers players, like level players that want an accolade. They don't care about winning a championship. Winning rings is the only thing that matters in this game, that in any professional sport. That's why you play to win the game and to win the ring. And Jalen Hurts, very impressed with you, man. You did an incredible job this season. Saquon Barkley, you were a man amongst boys this whole year. Yeah, you were shut down for the most part, but you did a great job receiving. I think he had like 7+ catches inside of the game yesterday. So that was kind of my couple initial takeaways. And we're going to really kind of get into what I wanted this podcast, or this show, excuse me. I'm used to just recording live on podcasts. But what I want to get into was, how can the Seahawks look at what the Eagles did on Sunday and say, how can we be like them? Right? Because every team in football is going to say, well, what pages can we take out of the Philadelphia playbook? Right? John Snyder, I'm going to be as respectful as I can, but as serious as I can. No more drafting running backs in the second round. No. You need to draft offensive and defensive linemen until we build up the trenches on both sides, and then you can address otherwise. I don't want these first, second, not even a third round pick. I want a defensive lineman. I want an edge rusher. I want a tackle. I want a guard. That's what people are going to say, why you need tackle. You need Abe Lucas insurance. Yeah, I did watch a video of him the other day, finally actually strength training for the first time in 2 years. But this team has had a problem on the offensive line for a decade. The moment they traded Max Unger for Jimmy Graham, the whole team and the motto, whatever term you want to use, it went down the toilet. You turn into a finesse team. You had Marshawn freaking Lynch at running back, and you traded your all-pro center, who was the heart and soul of that offensive line, for a pretty boy tight end. Yeah, cool. He set the franchise record for tight end and touchdowns and receiving yards. I don't give a damn. I don't. You know what I care about? Having an offensive line that say, we're going to run the football down your throat, and you're going to have to just enjoy it. Like what's happened to us with the Steelers, with the Ravens, and all these other teams that came into our house and just ran the ball, and the Raiders with Josh Jacobs the other year for 250 yards. They just ran the ball down our throat. Now, granted, the run defense is better. I believe there is some room for growth on the offensive line. I do not want Olu Oluwatimi on this team for center, not to be disrespectful to him. He could be a decent player in this league. We don't have the time to wait for a third-year player to figure it out. A player, in my opinion, you figure it out in the first 2 years, or you just struggle. There is no really in between. Some players are late bloomers. I'm willing to be wrong and take the L on that. Cool. But my personal opinion is that you need a center that can come in and play. Now, the problem is this draft class doesn't really have any great centers. Jackson Powers Johnson was one we saw last year out of Oregon, right? And he struggled a fair amount in Las Vegas, but he still was okay. He was above league average, and he was a rookie. And I look at what this team needs. You need a guard. And for the love, please, John Snyder, for the love of everything that is holy on this planet, give some actual money. I'm not saying you got to spend Trey Smith money, assuming he leaves Kansas City, which I don't think may happen, but I don't know if they can afford him, right? He's going to probably reset the guard market $25+ million, 23 to 25 million, right? But I want to see a bona fide, legit, badass guard come in here and say, yeah, this is my line. I'm going to take over. I'm going to show these boys the style we're going to play. Now, granted, John Benton has came in, and we talked about that on the previous podcast, the new offensive line coach for the Seattle Seahawks. And he's clearly a zone read guy. They want athleticism. That's fine. Then there is a fair amount of linemen in this draft class. Excuse me. Gray Zabel is one out of NDSU who is rising up draft boards. I would be fine taking him at 18. Some people think that'd be like crazy. He's a D2 lineman. Look at Cody Mock, who plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks. That dude is a absolute monster. You know what he does? He plays anywhere. Center, guard, tackle. And he can do it at a well above league average level. That is what you need. No more of this, we'll get a lineman who might be 70 grade. I want a 75+ graded offensive lineman at every position on this team, John Snyder. When you said, and I am quoting your exact quote, that offensive linemen are overdrafted and overpaid. That is BS. You want to know why? The teams that invest that draft capital, look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did. Lane Johnson, first-round pick. Mekhi Becton, first-round pick. Center, second-round pick. Right guard, second-round pick. Left tackle, he's the only one. Jordan Mailata, he was a 7th-round pick. He was a freaking rugby player, right? They got lucky. But with all of that being said, they have invested year after year after year after year into this offensive and defensive line. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, list goes on. Nakobe Dean, like all these guys, Nolan Smith, that come in and they've made a difference. Kylie Ringo. These guys that came in, they made a difference. I don't want to see these second-round picks on running backs like we did in back-to-back years with Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet. In my personal opinion, you could trade Ken Walker this year, get a second or third-round pick, probably a mid-third-round pick, and you could get a running back that, excuse me, that could do exactly what he's doing, that he's been doing. The problem is, Ken Walker is like a Ferrari. He's like a Porsche. When he goes hard, and when he breaks in a million pieces. So it makes me ask myself at the end of the day, what is it going to take to be like the Eagles? Not going to exactly be like them, but how can you be similar to them, right? And what I look at is a template of trenches that have been invested and positions that have been addressed at appropriate times and for appropriate money. They didn't draft more than two, they drafted 3 wide receivers in the last 6 draft classes in the first 3 rounds, right? J.J. Arcega-Whiteside didn't do anything. They drafted Devontae Smith. He was good. They traded for A.J. Brown. They drafted Dallas Goedert, their tight end, right? There are opportunities to do this, but you do not spend premium draft capital unless you see a bona fide star, right? Devontae Smith has been a very good player. He's deserved and earned of that first-round pick, right? No problem with that whatsoever. When Seahawks fans like myself look in the mirror and say, how much time is it going to take for the Seahawks to be like the Eagles? Realistically, 2 years at least, you need 2 draft classes. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to be possible to get 1 draft class and then to have 1 free agency period. It's not enough. It's not enough. You need a third corner. You have to find a way respectfully to move on from Tyler Lockett or drastically lower his cap money. But some people are going to think I'm crazy for this, and I will take whatever grief comes my way. I would rather have Cooper Kupp than Tyler Lockett because I believe Cooper Kupp's upside is a little bit more than Tyler Lockett because Lockett is just, he's a little more beat up. He's a little further down the road. And Tyler Lockett, you have been absolutely nothing short of a leader of men and an incredible captain on this team. I want to make that abundantly clear. But if you want to win championships and to have your NFL salary cap money spent and allocated properly, you have to find a way to do something with Lockett. You must restructure DK Metcalf and Geno Smith. If you restructure and extend Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, it clears up over $60 million. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to that again. If you extend DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, as my cat's freaking out behind me, right? If you extend those 2 guys and restructure their contracts, at bare minimum, it is $60 million. If you find a way to restructure Draymond Jones, you get another 10. Tyler Lockett is over $27 million against the cap this year to start. That is the beginning of his floor for the salary this year. It goes up to $34.5 million after what they restructured last offseason. They moved the money forward. Right? It's like they did with Leonard Williams. So the Seahawks can do what they wanted when it comes to extending players, moving money around, trying to make your numbers make sense. But if you want to compete, if you want to be at the pinnacle, if you want to be considered nothing, if you want to be something more than a wild card team, the only way that's going to happen is to truly invest in the trenches to get defensive linemen, offensive linemen. I do believe they'll re-sign Ernest Jones. I don't think that's much of a conversation. And then Rayshawn Jenkins is probably gone. Kobe Bryant will start in his place. That's another $6 million. Seahawks can have almost $100 million in cap space this offseason if they do it right. And they better do it right. And John Snyder is pretty smart with that cap. He's pretty good with it. But that's going to come to an interesting tale, especially about players like Uchenna Nwosu. On Valentine's Day, he's due $6 million. I don't think you should keep him on that contract. I think that needs to be restructured too, which is going to make up the conversation. Then why did we offer it to him from the very get-go? That's a great topic. I don't know. I'm not John Snyder. That was a John and Pete conversation. But that's something that we'll address further down the road. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be today's show. I almost said podcast again. It's a shorter show today. Just me. I just want to go over a couple of things I saw inside of this game, things that have been on my chest. I just want the Seahawks to be freaking great. I want them to be a team that is feared like we used to be. And I truly believe with every part of my soul and my being that this defense can be special. That this defense has the capability to be top 5 in the NFL. But in order for that to happen, you need to pair another defensive lineman with Byron Murphy. I'm going to do a ton of draft stuff. I'm going to try and figure out a way to put a draft, mock drafts up here on the screen to kind of show you guys what I'm thinking, what I'm looking at, players that I'm trying to begin to do some film on, because I want to build this channel to be something that people can learn as we do stuff. And I think that's the best and most opportune way to make that happen. So with all that being said, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, listening today. If you enjoyed this conversation that I brought to you guys today, the topics and overall, please do me a huge, huge favor. It takes 1 second to just subscribe and leave a like on this video. I'm trying to keep these Monday videos consistent for you guys. And please drop comments down below. Me and Travis, or Travis and I, we are more than welcome, and we are wanting to have more conversation and more topics. So if you leave us some questions down below, maybe we can do an AMA. We can do an answer to some questions, stuff like that, or even a mailbag. But we'll get that in a future episode. And today, We honor the Philadelphia Eagles. We salute the Kansas City Chiefs for a fun year. We move on to baseball season. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.